welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the iHeartRadio network every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We also want to say thank you very much to all of our Latin American followers. So bienvenidos to you. And also another Spanish word, Big C, I picked up is poquito. I think it means do you understand, but I might be wrong, Big C, so I hope I don't offend anybody. It's amazing what you learn listening to kids. And also you good old boys in London, England, as well as Paris, France. And of course, the great country of Canada. Love your national anthem. And again, you good old boys in Dubai. I met someone from Iran, and he was telling me how they have a lot of oil over there. I think we've already discovered that, Big C, so I won't get into that, Big C. But also you good old boys in Latin America and South America, as well as you over there in Australia. But Big C, some of my best friends that come from the South, they're down in your neck of the woods. How you good old boys doing down south, Big C?
Well, you know, Charlton, it's gotten kind of overcast down here. It's really dark outside. We're waiting on some more of that thing that they call precipitation.
Yeah.
You know, we're seeing you guys a film on it out there on the West Coast. Show you what rain looks like and feels like.
Oh, we read about rain. We read about it.
I'm getting ready to get that free car wash in a few minutes, Charlton.
Yeah, you come to California, you won't need a car wash. In fact, you know, we do a lot of things in dealing with dealerships. Of course, Cadillac, I was at a dealership today in Northern California, and they actually had all their cars that are all muddy. And I said, so these are brand new cars, 2016 models. And I said, do you guys ever wash your cars? And he said, well, there's a water shortage. Big C. So they let the cars. I said, Big C, that's Big C style. He doesn't wash his car either, Big C. But anyway, Big C, I just want to say this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive it, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. And Big C, again, you know, sometimes you talk about things and they come true. Now, you know you don't wash a Cadillac that much, but I went to a brand new car dealership in Northern California, and all their cars were dirty, so I told them about the Charlton and Big C Sports, and they said, well, who is Big C?
Well, you know, they should come hang out with me this weekend, Charlton. They can live a month and a weekend hanging out with me, because when they go back, they're going to have a couple gray hairs.
Yeah, I can understand that, Big C, but I just thought that was so funny. We talked about your car always being muddy. And then I go to a brand new dealership. All their cars are muddy, Big C. So we got to.
It's amazing, Charlton, when you look across the board how many people count. You know, first we started with ESPN and Fox, and now the car dealers, you don't want to have a car like mine.
That is so funny, Big C. But anyway, I'm telling you, we talk about so many things, and again, just want to mention about the passing of the late Arnold Palmer and how much he meant to the world of golf, but not only golf. But people talk about being social activists and how oftentimes they just put the African American out there to be the social activist. But Palmer, you know, he opened the door for other African American golfers, and especially in the world where they were not very welcome, Big C. So Palmer, just like Ali, they were ahead of the curve. They didn't have to go out and make a lot of noise about what they did, but they were fair to all people, Big C. Your thoughts on Palmer again?
Well, you know, Palmer, you know, you talk about what he did for other athletes, but what I want to talk about him being a humanitarian, Charlton.
Yeah.
His late wife who succumbed him in life. You know, they set up a hospital wing for cancer patients.
Yeah.
And, you know, you think about that being a humanitarian, that you take your life earnings and you put it forth to help other people. That's dedicated to American society, Charlton, and world society as a whole, because we have so many rich, selfish people in this world.
Yeah.
But Arnold Palmer thought about others. He had charitable foundations that he donated to. He had charitable golf tournaments. He had his own golf tournament, Charlton, where the funds went to charity.
Yeah.
That's what you look at the legacy of a great humanitarian, Charlton. Is not that he was the greatest golfer, you know, during his era.
Yeah.
But what he did after his era to supplant that.
Yeah.
And that was his humanitarian work, Charlton. Arnold Palmer will always be remembered as a great American, and I'm not sure whether or not he got the President's Medal of Freedom, but if he didn't, he deserves it, Charles.
Yeah, definitely, Big C. Also, today is beautiful September 27th, 2016, and as we get into this, I just want to mention being on the iHeartRadio platform. You know, iHeart, we're the #1 media company in the United States, and we lead in reaching key audience targets. If you look at Hispanics that listen to iHeart, 93% of Hispanics listen to iHeartRadio. Telemundo, only 64%, and that's the largest Spanish station in the United States. Also, the African American audience, we reach 92% of the African American audience. BET only reaches 57%, but it's a good platform. And millennials, we reach 93% of them, along with all the other media outlets put together. And so iHeart's a great place for the business world and also for Charlton and Big C Sports. We know that sports is a billion-dollar industry, and with Charlton and Big C Sports, we follow all the sports, whether it's high school, college, or pro, and I really appreciate your knowledge, Big C. I tell people when they say, who is Big C, I just say he's a historian who likes catfish, Big C, but most people, they get the catfish smell out of their cars, unlike that, Big C, but outside of that, really appreciate your knowledge. But I want to get on something that you are very fond of also. You know, we talk about the coaching carousel, and Jeff Fisher signed this big contract, $27 million. Now, right now, he has the Rams in first place in the NFC West, but he's only had 6 winning seasons in 21 seasons, Big C. So 6 winning seasons in 21 seasons is not that good, but he's on top right now through the first 3 games. So he's off the hot seat right now. But I want to get your thoughts on just a few coaches. Houston Texans, Bill O'Brien. He's on the hot seat right now. And obviously, no one's going to go undefeated throughout the season. It's just not going to happen. The Dolphins, I think their record's pretty protected. But why would O'Brien be on the hot seat, Big C, after 3 games, Big C? Your thoughts on that?
Well, you know, it's a strange scenario when you look down there at Houston. And I think because he went back and ran into his teacher, you know, Bill Belichick, last week. Yeah. And he was shut out offensively. Now, they spent all this money on Osweiler. And what they're looking at is the coach could not put together a game plan against a team that he learned how to coach on the professional level. Yeah. And was shut out. And when you think about shut out, Charlton, they didn't cross the 50-yard line in the first half. Wow. So this is a professional football team, and you don't cross the 50-yard line in the first half. This is where you got to start looking at, is he really the guy? You know, you bring him in from Penn State a couple years ago, felt you had a good platform for him. Yeah. And you go out and you spend a lot of money on free agency. You got to look at the defense. You know, they put $100 million into their defense during the All-Star. Yeah. Not just Osweiler, but their defense. Yeah. And then you could not stop the Patriots with a third-string quarterback. Yeah. You know, a makeshift offense. So, you know, you look at the head coach first, and that's what people start looking. Head coaches try to fire assistants. Yeah. But you got to look at these head coaches also, Charlton. Yeah, that's true, Big C. And also, speaking of head coaches, you know, there's another one out there, and I think this guy's excellent. I also think the NFL is kind of in a dangerous precedent right now, where they're trying to be like college, where Les Miles got fired after starting 2-2, and the losses that he had, one came against a team that's ranked in the top 10 in Wisconsin on the road at Lambeau Field. Another one came to Auburn, which was kind of a fluke play, but that had some personal reasons behind it. You know how Buffalo got rid of their offensive guy after they scored over 30 points and kept the defensive guy around, Big C. Why would Bruce Arians, of all coaches, if you look at his body of work, no one should be on the hot seat until you get to at least 10 games, Big C. But Arizona, why is Arians in trouble, Big C? Well, you know, that's a strange scenario. If you recall 2 seasons ago when he made the playoffs using 3 different quarterbacks. Yeah. And so that's one of the things. Yes, they ended the season last year on a down note, getting beat in the championship game. But they've come out and they haven't hit their stride this year. I mean, NFL season's a long season, 16 games, Charlton. Yeah. Normally, if you win 10 games, you can make the playoffs in the NFL. If you're 11, you're a shoe-in. Yeah. And you look at the Western Division, you know, of the NFC. Yeah. It's not strong. You got the Rams winning the division right now, but they're 2 games ahead of the Cardinals. Yeah. They got to play them head-to-head twice. So if the Cardinals would have beat them in those 2 games, all of a sudden they'd be a tie. Yeah. That's true. You got to look at Seattle. Potentially is going to get better. San Francisco, who the hell knows what they're doing? You know.
I think they're trying to move to L.A., Big C. The 49ers might be the L.A. 49ers pretty soon, Big C, the way they're going over there.
But the Cardinals have a lot of talent on that team, Charlton. You know that they had a marvelous season last year, and the team is basically intact. Yeah. So it's just a matter of Arians sitting down with his players and, hey, guys, some of us got to go, whether it's me or you. Yeah. And sometimes you have to change the area code of a player. Yeah. Once you change the area code of a player, the rest of the players understand. Yeah. I can move also. Well, see. So that will motivate you. I had a coach one time came into a locker room talking, and this was after we played that weekend. Yeah. And our quarterback had taken a beating in the game. And he walked in the team meeting. All of us sitting there, and he said, you know, when our offensive line played, if they play like that again, I'm going to change 1 or 2 area codes. I'm going to let you know that now.
Yeah. And he was
next week, the quarterback didn't get touched.
Yeah. Obviously, people can be motivated by keeping the paycheck, but you look at Arizona's defense, they're not that bad considering who they played, Big C. I know they had that loss against New England. They're beating everybody. But you look at it, they've only given up 63 points. Okay, 63 points, that's not that bad for an NFL team, but they've only scored 79. I think Palmer, if you recall last year, he had an injured finger on his throwing hand, and it really showed. It showed when they played Carolina in the NFC Championship game. Maybe that's something that hasn't totally healed, Big C. Maybe whatever they did to it didn't work right away. But if you talk about getting rid of Arians, I mean, just stop the madness and stop firing these coaches in the 3rd and 4th week of the season, Big C.
You talk about getting rid of Arians. Who out there is better right now waiting for a coaching job? If he's waiting for a coaching job, that means he's not better than the guy that you had.
Yeah, that's true, Big C. Yep.
You disrupt the continuity of a professional team, even a college team, Charlton.
Yeah.
When you start dismissing coaches. These are the reasons why players are with those teams. These are why players go to those particular colleges.
Yeah.
Because of these coaches. And you look at everybody on LSU's roster.
Yeah.
They came there expecting Coach Miles to be there for 4 years, Charlton.
Yeah.
Not expecting for Coach Miles to be there 1 year, 2 years, 4 games, okay?
Yeah.
They expected him to be there. He made a promise to their parents that he would take care of them through their college years.
Yeah.
Now he's gone.
Well,
Greg Ogeron's a great guy, trust me. I mean, he used to be the head coach in Mississippi, so he's been in the SEC.
Yeah.
He was head coach. Everybody remembers the movie Blindside.
Yeah.
He was the coach who got Michael Orr to go to Mississippi. And we saw his life story, paying out on big screen as well as in the NFL.
Yeah.
But, he was also, many people thought he would be the number 1 choice at USC, Charlton.
Yeah.
When they got rid of Sarkisian. I think he was 6-1 as the head coach, as an interim coach.
Yeah.
When Sarkisian was gone.
Yeah.
And could not get the job.
It's
one
about
of the best recruiters in the country,
yeah.
Charlton.
And it's about who you know at times. Yeah. You're right, Big C.
Yeah, it's about who you know. So, but when you talk about Arians, ever since he's been with the Cardinals, he's been a winner. And so you think about some of these coaches, Fisher is one, been a lifetime loser in the past 15 years.
Yeah.
And can't lose a job.
Yeah, hasn't been in the playoffs since, I think it's been 13 years since Fisher was in the playoffs. That's the year they went to the Super Bowl. Another coach that I think just doesn't get much of a chance. I know this is media driven, but whenever media talks about something, it's because people know something's going on. Hugh Jackson took the Raiders to 8-8. They let him go. Hugh Jackson right now, the new coach of the Cleveland Browns. We're only talking about 3 weeks into the season, and there's some people saying that, he's on the hot seat already in Cleveland because they have RG3 who got hurt again, Big C. That's not his fault. But also, it's just some people, and maybe this is media driven, why would Hugh Jackson be on the hot seat when it takes about 2 years to start building a team and turning things around, Big C? Not 3 games. Your thought on that, Big C?
Well, Charlton, these are the little boys in the media that are talking. When they sit there and they can't think of anything positive, because what you have nowadays, Charlton, is in the modern day sports writer,
yeah,
you have a tabloidist. It's like reading those papers at the stand when you're checking out in the grocery store.
Yeah.
That's what half the reporters are nowadays. They want to be the first with a story out there running and creating.
Yeah.
They never retract the negativity that they put out or the falsehoods that they
yeah.
You never see a retraction in the paper. But, here's Hugh Jackson, who has technically played 4 quarterbacks, Charlton. Think about it. 4 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Griffin, McCowan, the kid out of FC, Cody Kessler.
Yeah.
And Aaron Pryor.
Yeah.
Pryor.
Yeah.
So he's played 4 quarterbacks this year. He's had 4 quarterbacks that have thrown touchdowns.
And Pryor had several ways that he scored last week also, Big C. He's an amazing talent. But again, you're right. He had a lot of inconsistency there, but that's not his fault. He's working with what he has. But still,
look at the injuries, Charlton.
Yeah.
Off the top receiver in Coleman.
Yeah.
Who was the number 1 draft pick. He broke his hand.
Yeah.
Pryor, the converted quarterback, playing wide receiver, who was playing at an all-pro level.
Yeah.
The offensive line, they lost their center, and that's the quarterback of the offensive line.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of missing parts in Cleveland right now, and that's not the coach.
Yeah.
The injury bug can hit anybody.
That's true.
And we've seen that up and down throughout players' careers,
Yeah.
teams' history.
Yep.
But, to say Hugh Jackson is the reason for the Browns being injured and not being able to find any continuity and consistency, That's asinine from these stupid writers.
Well, also, speaking of asinine, I'm going to say this segment is sponsored by your California Lottery, and I love the lottery. I actually hit the lotto, Big C. I won $1. You know, this is what I'm telling you. Well, see, when it says you want a prize, don't jump up and down and start tearing things down because you think you got all the money in the world. So I was kicking over the stands, and, I was kind of being an idiot, Big C. I went up thinking I'm a multi-millionaire. They said I won $1. So as they call security over, I picked the stuff back up and put it back, and I apologize, Big C. But it shows what a buck can do for you. But don't lose your mind just because you won a lotto dollar. I mean, I thought it was a few $1 million, Big C, but has a buck done anything great for you, Big C? Has it made you lose your mind, too?
Yeah, I mean, I've had some shots or something that, made me lose my mind, and they were fucking shots. They're on $2.
Yeah.
And you'll be amazed what happens to you when you walk out in the sun and you're not because you've been in there happy hour.
Yeah, I know we've heard those stories where you see these stories where somebody wins the lottery or somebody thinks they won the lottery. They may have had the right numbers, but because they drank so much moonshine, it was from the week before, so they called work and kind of used some profanities and told the boss where he could shove it. And he went to get his money. He realized the ticket was the right ticket, but the numbers were passed last week, Big C. How do you go back and ask for your job back? But also, speaking of asking for your job, back into the NFL, Jacksonville Jaguars, Gus Bradley, another guy on the hot seat. The fans actually booed him when he took the field. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of this is media-driven, but I would hate to see what happens to the NFL, what's happening to college football, where they're just talking about firing guys in week 3 and 4 of the season. Now, Jacksonville hasn't been great, Big C, but why would Gus Bradley be on the hot seat after 3 games, Big C?
Well, they're looking at they always have a top 5 draft pick, Charlton. You bring these guys in, but, you bring a guy in from a winning NFL team.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that transfer. He's not bringing those players that he was coaching. The same scenario in Atlanta with Dan Quinn.
Yeah.
He saved his job the other night against New Orleans.
Yeah.
But you bring these guys, but you don't bring the players.
Yeah.
You bring the philosophy, but you don't bring the players.
Yeah.
So, and you're taking a coordinator and you're making him the CEO of that team.
Yeah.
Where he's the head coach now, and he's trying to facilitate to his assistants. He's not bringing those co-workers, those other assistants, Charlton, from the program that he left.
Yeah.
The current program that he's with.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
There's a lot of building that goes on. And so when you look at Jacksonville hasn't given anybody a chance since Don Capers when they opened up that franchise.
Yeah.
And Don Capers took them to the playoffs with Mark Brunell.
Yeah.
But since that time, Charlton, it's been a carousel of coaches in Jacksonville. And yes, coaches take those jobs because they got a pension for life.
Yeah.
As being head coach in the NFL for one day.
Yeah.
Starts the day that you're fired.
Yeah.
And that's the 6-digit pension, which is not bad.
That's not bad.
1 day of coaching.
That's not bad for 1 day of coaching, Big C.
You think Jim Thomas, who was crying last year?
No, he's not crying because of money. He might be crying because of ego, but money he's taking care of, Big C.
Hey, he made $14.7 million in San Francisco last year, Charlton.
Yeah.
And has a pension for life, so he can go coach a high school team and run that program.
In fact, he might be doing that. Last coach I'm hearing about on the hot seat, and I'm sure there are many others, but I want to get on to Todd Bowles with the New York Jets. He's a fine man. He's a great leader. He's had a quarterback with a broken hand, and he also had a quarterback who had his jaw broken by his own teammate in Geno Smith. And we know Fitzpatrick had some issues, had a horrible game last week, but this is no reason to put the coach on the hot seat in week 3 of his second season when they were knocking on the door to the playoffs last year, Big C. If they all get the Jeff Fisher treatment, they would have 27 years of job security. Big C, your thoughts on that?
Well, you look at Bowles. He's in the AFC East, Charlton.
Yeah.
All you can ever hope for the AFC East to be second.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
New England Patriots hang out. That's their penthouse. The AFC East. You can knock on the door, but you're not coming in.
Yeah.
As long as Brady's around and as long as Belichick is around, all you can do is knock on the door and hope to miss, but you will not be going in the state. And, when you think about what Bowles did in his first year, 10 victories. And, the game last week by Fitzpatrick was atrocious.
Yeah.
But the coach is not throwing the ball, Charlton. And then you yank a quarterback in the middle of the game. Who do you put in? A guy who hasn't played, who has no rhythm of score.
Yeah.
You're better off if you're going to make a change with a quarterback, you do it the following week.
Yeah.
But Todd Bowles has done a wonderful job with the Jets when you look at the assembly of players that he's put together.
Yeah.
It's just last week in Kansas City, if they'd have played differently, this talk wouldn't be occurring, Charlton. But,
Well,
you know, they went up, they dominated the Buffalo Bills on
Yeah.
a Monday night game.
Yeah.
And everything was fine. You come out and lose the following week, let's fire the guy because he's 1-2.
Well, and I think that's a horrible thing to do. Last thing on the coaching scandals, I want to ask your thoughts on, I think people talk about Don Shula. They talk about Chuck Noll. They talk about, you know, someone like a Bill Belichick or Tom Landry. And I want to get your thoughts on what makes Coach Belichick so great as a coach. It's not because he was fired after 2 years. He wasn't that good when he was at Cleveland, Big C. But look at what happens when you let a guy build his program. But where did it start, Big C? Your thoughts on Belichick?
Well, you know, when you think about Belichick, and you said he started out as Cleveland as a head coach.
Yeah.
And it's just like these other coaches we've talked about, Charlton. After that second year, you're talking about firing him.
Yeah.
You don't give this coach time to put his system and his players in place.
Yeah.
You can't go out and replace a 53-man roster, Charlton, in 2 years. You just can't. It's impossible in the NFL because of the contract structure. A head coach in pro football is not like a head coach in college football.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about how great Bill Parcells was as a head coach, and I'm going to give him credit.
Yeah.
This man accomplished a lot with several teams in the NFL.
Not by himself, though. Not by himself, Big
Very
C.
successful.
Yeah.
But he won 2 Super Bowls, Charlton.
Yeah.
He won 2 Super Bowls. He never made it back to the Super Bowl after a certain individual named Bill Belichick left.
Yep.
and so people have to understand that Bill Belichick's history in pro football, Charlton, is enormous.
Yeah.
This kid, many people don't realize his dad was a defensive coordinator at Army. You know, when he was a kid. So he grew up in a coaching household.
Yeah.
And as a young man at the age of 8 years old, his dad introduced him to Vince Lombardi in a locker room one day. And so he got that coaching itch from his dad and Vince Lombardi. So
That's
he was
amazing.
always a student.
Yeah.
He learned the game. And you think about it, while he was in Cleveland, in 2 years in Cleveland, he had to start 2 different rookie quarterbacks, Phil Cox and Eric Zaire.
Yeah.
And that was because of injuries. But after the second season, Cleveland let him go. Where did he march up at Charlton? New England.
Yeah. Nothing.
Goes to New
Yeah.
England, a team that is allowed to let him coach.
Yeah.
Who did he succeed in New England, Charlton? A guy named Bill who?
Yep. Your buddy, Big C.
Bill Parcells?
Yeah.
Okay. He goes into New England where Bill Parcells had been and changes that program, Charlton.
Yeah.
You look at his dad invented the modern day scouting system, Charlton, and that's why Bill Parcells is so good at picking players. Is that he doesn't say this is the best player on the board.
Yeah.
He says this is the player who fits what we're trying to do as an organization.
Yeah. And
He
that's
is taking chances on players, Charlton.
yeah.
You know, you think about Corey Dillon, running back.
Yeah.
Played with the Cincinnati Bengals out of the University of Washington.
Yep.
Perennial 1,000-yard rush every year. Everybody says he was washed up. Bill Belichick brings him in, wins his second Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Okay? That's getting productivity out of play. In his first Super Bowl, he brought in Antoine Smith.
Yeah.
Antoine Smith, when he came to the NFL as a rookie out of the University of Houston, was 25, 26 years old.
Yeah.
So he was an old running back when he got to the pros. But 5 years being into the league, Bill Parcells brought him in off the waiver wire. They win their first Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And so when you look at players that he brought in, people said Randy Moss was washed up with the Oakland Raiders.
Right.
And you will recall him because he's
Yeah.
hanging out in your neighborhood.
He's in California, Big C. I don't think we're in the same neighborhood, though, Big C.
So when Randy Moss went to the New England Patriots, what did Randy Moss do, Charles?
Score touchdowns, Big C.
He set an NFL record for touchdowns in the season and caught for over 2,000 yards.
Yeah.
This is a player that's washed up that Bill Parcells says he fits what we're doing at this time.
Yeah.
There's been some players that Parcells brought in that didn't work out, such as Albert Haynesworth, big defensive tackle, who's been with the Redskins.
Yeah.
But he saw where it wasn't going to work, cut his ties halfway through the season.
Yeah.
He didn't even wait till the season was over. Albert was lazy, wouldn't do what he needed to do. He didn't want him to have him bringing down the team.
Well, Big
But
C.
when you look at the players on his roster, Charles,
Yeah.
how many players you recognize on his roster from college?
See,
That's the thing. He's not out there seeking the college stars. He's seeking the guys who are going to be stars for the Patriots.
yeah.
And when you look at the quarterbacks that they've played, Jimmy Garoppolo, nobody knew who he was prior to Parcells drafting.
Yeah.
Look at all the big-name quarterbacks who are riding the pine and unsuccessful.
Yeah, that's true.
Jacoby Brissett.
Yep.
You know, a third-round draft pick this year.
Yeah.
Look at what he did in his first game starting in the NFL.
Yeah.
Tom Brady was a sixth-round draft pick, Charlton.
Out of Michigan.
You look at their receiving corps. Edelman,
Yep.
free agent. You know, Wes Welker was a free agent that they picked up before he went off to Denver years ago.
Yeah. And he's done it year after year, Big C. And, you know, another guy that we talked about being one of the greatest coaches ever before, you know, Belichick came on the scene is Bill Walsh. Bill Walsh was not successful in his first year of coaching. In fact, his first couple of seasons of coaching with the 49ers, he was not that successful either. But you have these coaches that are on the hot seat. You know, when you talk about Bill O'Brien or if it's Bruce Arians, I really don't understand Arians being on the hot seat, or even Hugh Jackson or even Todd Bowles. You know, maybe Gus Bradley a little bit more than the other guys, but if you can have the stability that an organization will give you, like a Chuck Noll was given stability. You know, Boyd Grant with the Minnesota Vikings, he was given stability. I think those were the days where we did not have the instant media where someone could say, hey, he lost the game, let's fire him. They actually let the guys build a program, Big C. So if you're a guy like Goodell, and he's made a lot of money by helping organizations get wealthy. I mean, he's the guy that speaks for all the teams, Big C. The $44 million a year contract comes from that. Is there anything we can do to help give coaches some type of job security? If that makes sense, Big C, should they not even be talking about firing these guys unless they're past 10 or maybe 11 or 12 games, Big C?
Well, Jonathan, that just comes down to freedom of speech in the United States.
Yeah.
These guys can write and say anything they want. It's not about accuracy anymore. It's not even about professionalism when you look at the media.
Yeah.
It's about who can tell first. You know, I can tell a story if it happens to come to its fruition.
Yeah.
Then I was a genius.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, then, you know, no one will remember it. But, you know, there's so much hatred out there of guys because you won't give them the interview. And I recall last week when this old reporter from Northern California was interviewing Chip Kelly.
Yeah.
And he was talking to him about Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah.
And he's talking about when Colin Kaepernick took over the locker room after the game and polarized it about himself.
Right.
Colin Kaepernick didn't call one reporter to his locker, Charlton. They all gravitated there on their own. I think they were grown men and, you know,
Yeah.
had the ability to move across the floor on their own power.
Yeah.
And so that's what they did. And they were asking Kaepernick questions, non-football questions.
Yeah.
So all he could do, Carlton, was answer the questions of the professional man
Yeah.
that he was being asked.
Yeah.
And this one reporter was offended because he's an old grizzly guy.
Yeah.
He remembers the time when a black didn't play quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the days that he wanted.
Yeah.
And if he said something, you had to give him the answer that he wanted because he was badgering you and he tried to bury it.
Yeah.
But Colin Kaepernick didn't have to acknowledge him.
You know, but see,
Nor answer any of his questions. So he turns to Chip Kelly.
yeah.
And he wants to badger Chip Kelly in front of the rest of the media.
Yeah.
Chip Kelly answered his questions, Charlton, but he didn't say what he wanted him to say.
Yeah.
So he keeps badgering, and at the end of it, Charlton, he's going to tell Chip Kelly, well, I guess we agree to disagree. How is the coach disagreeing with him?
Yeah.
This is the coach's organization.
Yeah.
Whatever moves he makes in the protection or non-protection of his players, that's the coach. He's a grown man just like the players.
Yeah. Well, Big C.
This old Grizzly reporter
Yeah.
who is ego-driven and was thinking about when he was writing in the 60s and 70s, and he could berate a player,
Yeah.
and that player had no back to come back with because he didn't have access to other media.
They didn't have access. That's right. They didn't have access to other media, and a lot of things were just kept under the carpet. And also, speaking of carpet, this section is sponsored by United Labor, guaranteed $100,000 life insurance with no medical questions. We're also endorsed by the American Heart Association and the American Cancer Society. You can tweet out the Charlton and Big C Sports. And we're also trying to employ over 1,000 licensed insurance brokers to represent all of the unions in the United States under the AFL-CIO. So again, Charlton and Big C Sports also looking to put people back to work. And Big C, I want to bring something up. This is kind of a touchy issue, but if people can talk about it because it's real talk. So sometimes we spare people's feelings, but you know, you don't spare my feelings whenever I get in your Cadillac. I still smell that catfish, Big C, that's been sitting there for 3 or 4 days. Okay. It's all in my suit, Big Z, but you know, it's part, what do you say? Get your own car. There's nothing wrong with that. But I want to bring this up because, you know, it talks about the world of communications, and we have the you know, freedom of speech. And last night we had, you know, the debate with Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, and they brought up this subject about Black Lives Matter. And not that Colin Kaepernick started all. This actually started back in the Kerner Commission when Lyndon Baines Johnson had that report issued about two countries being separate and unequal. Well, we've had a couple of people come out and say how they really feel. One is Boomer Esiason. He had some articles written about how he thought Kaepernick was out of line. There are also guys like Mike Ditka, Trent Dilfer. People have their own opinions, and they just happen to be Caucasian. But I heard Stephen A. Smith say, have any of these white guys, these media guys that are so don't have freedom of speech anymore, they don't believe in the First Amendment, unless it's coming from a white athlete or a white person, Big C, have they ever been pulled over by law enforcement with guns pointed at them? And most of them probably don't have that idea of what it even looks like other than watching a Western movie. John Wayne was a movie. But even Stephen A. Smith and a lot of African Americans have talked about those issues where we're highly profiled in the criminal justice system. Hillary Clinton said last night, we all know this is true, black and white, let's be real. If you're black, you're going to get more time in the penitentiary system. If you're white, you get a slap on the wrist. That's the criminal justice system, because prisons are privatized and they don't make money by locking up white people pejoratively. They're looking for young black boys, and that's part of the problem with racial profiling, Big C. So when Colin Kaepernick's talking, unless Trent Dilfer or Boomer Esiason or Mike Ditka has been racially profiled by cops with guns, they have no idea what they're talking about when they say sit down and shut up. Just your thoughts on that as a person who's been around the block, Big C.
Well, Charlton, the racial profiling is true. And, I sit there and I listen to Donald Trump talking about we need to enact stop and frisk.
Yeah.
And it's already been proven
it's unconstitutional
by the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
That's profiling and harassment. So if you're going to stop and frisk, that means you stop every white skinhead walking down the street, Charlton?
Yeah, or anyone with blonde hair or blue eyes. Are they stopping anyone blonde hair or blue eyes, Big C? Are they stopping them? They're not racially profiled. Anyone Caucasian, they can't tell you they've been racially profiled. And they talked about some things you even brought up when the guy shot up the people in the church. They took them to, I think, Burger King. But we know that if you're, and we love law enforcement too, but it's unfair when an African American man is offended. Yeah.
If he had been black, if he had walked into a white church, they would have brought him out on a gurney. Okay?
Yeah, and we know that.
They wouldn't have walked him out of there and took him to Burger King.
Yeah.
They'd have taken him to the morgue, Charlton.
Yeah.
That's where they would have taken him.
Yeah.
If he'd have been a black man walking in, shooting up a white church. And this is not being racial, Charlton.
No, it's not.
This is being American.
Yeah.
If we can sit up as Americans, whether you are our listener or not our listener, you have to be realistic about where society is.
Yeah.
Look at yourself and see how many people that you've seen on television been gunned down.
Yeah.
And how many of them have been people of non-color?
Yeah.
That's the question.
They don't see that.
If you're seeing white people gunned down at the rate that you're seeing black people, African Americans, Hispanics on television, please give me a call. Let me know.
Yeah.
Because I miss those news clips, Charlton.
Yeah.
So if we're saying that it's an unfair society, television is telling you that it's an unfair society. If you look at the percentage of Anglo-Americans that have been shot by police law enforcement versus African-Americans, and you put those numbers up in parallel, talk about percentage, not just number of percentage, we would have more killings every day of Anglo-Americans, Charlton.
Yeah.
But it's not that way, and they don't fear that. You get stopped, a white American gets in, and I'm going to say that, a white American gets stopped by a white cop.
Yeah.
He's asking, hey, can I have your license and ID?
Yeah.
Is there a reason why you're doing this? Going that fast or that you went through that light?
Yeah.
I get stopped by a cop, Charles. The first thing I'm asked, and I'm an old man.
Yeah.
Is this your car?
Yeah.
Why am I asked, is this my car? And that's the profile of African American.
Yeah.
I've been asked that for years. Is this your car? No, I just stole the son of a whatever.
Right. Hold on, watch your mouth, Big C. This is iHeartRadio. This is not Rush Limbaugh's show, Big C. Watch how you talk, please. Okay. Okay.
But when I'm asked that, I'm offended. And right off the bat, this officer's gotten off to a bad start. I've been pulled over for doing nothing anyway.
Yeah.
Just because I've always driven a fairly decent car, doesn't mean that I have to be pulled over. My license returned.
Yeah.
You want my license and registration, and you spend a half hour sitting in your car trying to figure out something to write me a ticket for.
Yeah.
And I've never pulled out of one of these stops and haven't had a ticket, Charlton.
Yeah.
Well, if I didn't put on a turn signal or my tail light was out or part of my plates were obscured.
Yeah.
The same things everybody else has. I remember one time, Charlton, I'm driving with my nephew.
Yeah.
And I had about 4 or 5 of them in the car. And I had a new big BMW sedan.
Yeah.
and I'm riding along, and I had the driving glove hanging on my
rearview mirror, yeah.
In the car. Now I get pulled over, and this guy couldn't figure out what he pulled me over. It's the middle of summer, Charlton. This was told me to turn off my car. Let me turn off my car. I had to put the windows down. It's 100 degrees that day.
Yeah.
And I got these 5 young men in my car with me, and he keeps us there for 45 minutes. 45 minutes. He brings me back a ticket for obstruction of view.
Wow.
Because I have these driving gloves hanging from my rear view mirror.
Yeah.
I get a ticket for obstruction of view. Now I'm watching cars pass left and right with ice hanging on the CDs hanging on, and none of these people had obstruction. But he found a reason for pulling me over. And one of my nephews asked me, why did he do this? I said, too many blacks in a BMW.
Yeah, and you know what, Big C? When you think about that, too, and I've had the same thing happen. I got asked, are you out on parole or probation, as opposed to let me see your driver's license and registration. So I think as long as we can have the honest dialogue, I mean, these things are real, but we got to speak about it to make it better. And you don't have to be a woman to understand that sexual assault happens. And you don't have to act like that women are lying, or that maybe they wore the wrong dress, or they had the wrong hairstyle, or maybe they should not have been out at 6 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock at night.
No
yeah.
one entices.
No, they know what. Yeah. So they always talk about
that's an
animalistic behavior.
But they defend these things.
Yeah.
And you remember, because it's right there in your neighborhood, the swimmer
at Stanford. Yeah.
Who sexually assaulted the young woman.
Yeah.
And everyone knew he did it. He was stopped and held for the police, Charlton.
Yeah.
He got 6 months in jail and only served a little less than 3.
Yeah.
He was released by the same judge who sentenced him, Charlton.
And you know what's really more egregious about that too, Big C? Colin Kaepernick is in the same neighborhood, covered by the same media as a kid, a little white boy who raped a girl who was drunk, and he gets more demonized than the kid who committed a heinous act on an unconscious college woman. And I really question the media that wants to talk about that, Big C. In his final segment, is sponsored.
But see, no, he was an athlete also.
Yeah.
Let's not forget.
Yeah, but he was Caucasian.
He was a swimmer at the University of Stanford.
Yeah, he was Caucasian.
He committed rape.
Yeah.
And a sexual assault.
Yeah.
But it's okay. We'll put you in the boys club for 3 months.
Yeah.
And no, they should have put him in
it's called prison. It's called prison.
They should have put him in general population with some hardened criminals. Let
Yeah.
him know what rape feels like.
Well, you know, Big C, and sometimes when people excuse those men because they are Caucasian, they say, well, he has a history of future ahead of him. But tell that to the woman, she had a future ahead of her also. And speaking of future ahead of you, this final segment is sponsored by Beneath His Wings, Foundation.org, and CYNN Entertainment. Contact Cynthia Evans. She's the best when it comes to promotions in Northern California. Big C, I want to close out on just giving this thought again because, you know, we talked about Vince Scully, his final game at Dodger Stadium, and it happened yesterday, and they had a walk-off home run, and how Vince Scully, obviously one of the best broadcasters in the history of the world, been doing it 67 years, someone who's actually going out on top, even though he's still going to be broadcasting. He does not want to broadcast any playoff games, and the Dodgers have clinched the West, so we know they're going to be in the playoffs. Wouldn't it be ironic if the Dodgers won the World Series and Scully decided not to broadcast that series? Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, you know, just as history, Charlton, in the game means so much to everybody. This is going to be the hardest act to replace in a broadcast booth.
Yeah.
Replacing Vince Scully.
Yeah.
For years, you know, he's just been the voice. He's been the Dodger. You think about the hundreds of players that have gone to that organization, the calls that he's made on pitches, on catches, on home runs, on stolen bases, Charlton. It's been labeled with Vince Scully's voice.
Yeah.
He's made every significant call for the Dodgers since they've been in California, Charlton.
Yeah.
And they've won several World Series. They've had a few managers.
Yeah.
But Vince Scully has been there through it all. And so that's like losing a family member that you've been with forever. That's going to be the void that Vince Scully leaves.
Yeah.
If the Dodgers go on and win the World Series, that's only paying homage to Vince Scully.
Yeah.
The motivation that he has given these players and the inspiration. So it would be the greatest thing for baseball is that
if he had the chance to come out and go out on top, Big C, and that's amazing. And so, you know, the last thing I want to ask you is when you look at that Dodger organization, where there's Lasorda, or where there's, you know, Dusty Baker played in that organization, Mike Piazza, they've had so many great names and wearing Dodger blue. We know they came from the East Coast, from New York to San Francisco. They came here along with the 49ers, not the 49ers, but they came here when the Giants came out here also at Big C. But you look at what's happened and on the West Coast with the Giants and the Dodgers, they are the teams that everybody talks about when you want to win baseball. Why would you understand? How could you understand that everybody in the world of baseball, if you realize that the Dodgers, they've always found a way to win. They've always found a way to be one of the marquee programs out there. And I want to tell people, when you're looking at marquee radio, iHeart Radio Network, the #1 broadcast platform in the country, you can follow Charlton and Big C Sports on iHeart Radio. We reach a larger network than anyone in the country, whether it's Google, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Clear Channel, or Fox Sports, CBS Sports, ESPN Sports, MTV. They're all part of the iHeart Radio Network, and that's why Charlton and Big C Sports is a great place for your advertising dollar. Every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time worldwide, you can follow Charlton and Big C Sports. So we always want to tell you that we always appreciate your shows. We appreciate everything you bring to the program, Big C. And I also want to tell all of our listening audience, keep our women safe. We have the policy, no tolerance for domestic violence. If you see a woman in trouble, just call 911. And when you're speaking of calling, every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time, worldwide, follow Charlton and Big C Sports on the iHeart Radio Network. We thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.